Good morning from Boca Raton, Florida. Right behind me, that light at the end there is leading into South Beach Pavilion, right there on the water of the Atlantic Ocean. And above where I'm walking, you see that huge full moon in the sky, and that's over the bridge, the drawbridge there over the Intracoastal. This is my morning walk, and I just wanted to take this time to thank all who have reached out, sharing love and support during the passing of my grandma, who I called Mama. And many in the town of Victor have also shared their stories, their memories of Mama due to her teaching dance for over 50 years out of the basement of her home. She had a dance studio on Dryer Road, and it spanned through multiple generations, right? So parents took dance from her, their kids took dance from her, in some cases their grandkids took dance from her. 50 years of dance, and it's been quite uplifting to hear the stories and see the comments and feel the love and recognize how Mama's life impacted so many people. And I shared in the tribute with her that I attribute who I am in many aspects to the amazing coaches that I had in my journey. Namely, in my wrestling coaches, there's many more, but the two main wrestling coaches I had, Coach Kaller and Coach Mandera, helped shape me and helped teach me lessons that have served tremendously well in all areas of my life. They served very well when I went into the United States Marine Corps boot camp 28 years ago. In this moment, I was still in boot camp. I graduated the Honor Man on April 2nd, 1993. So in a couple days, it will be that 28th anniversary of graduating boot camp. And I was able to be that leader and become the Honor Man thanks to a lot of the lessons I learned through wrestling and through the coaches. And similarly, to see all the people reflect and share their stories and how much they remember and how much they enjoy going back to those memories of her dance lessons for 50 years. It's quite amazing. And that transitions to me now and you now. Little do we know the impact that we're having on those that are around us. And 50 years ago, I'm 48 now, she was teaching dance prior to me being born. There wasn't social media, there weren't things like that, but it was pretty much people who came into your vicinity via proximity. Nowadays, who you are and what you do can have an impact on people worldwide. And that's kind of a good reminder to me and hopefully to you that just by being you and just by being the person who you are and doing what you do is leaving a trail, is leaving some lessons that others can glean, that can take, and it can make a dramatic and powerful impact on them if you so choose. And so to see all that has really been heartwarming. And I want to thank everybody who has reached out, sharing those memories and sharing love and support. But I also will flip back to another side of her. So she was a dance instructor for 50 years, but she also was the president and behind-the-scenes boss of Beals Auto for roughly 50 plus years as well. Now, Beals Auto is another staple of the local community there in upstate New York, in Farmington, New York, that was right across from Wade's grocery store on 96, near 96 and 332. And, not only did she teach dance for those 50 years, but thousands and thousands of cars, automobiles and trucks and engines and everything you could imagine with vehicles was repaired at that station from people that were local, from people that were traveling on the thruway that had issues for decades, right? So her and my grandpa and my dad ran Beals Auto for numerous decades and also had impact. And the funny thing I learned growing up about, being around the auto world is there's never a shortage of stories. There's never a shortage of gossip. They pretty much were the hub of knowing exactly what was going on, the good, the bad, the ugly in the Victor Farmington area. It was interesting to witness as a child and interesting to hear and see the lessons learned just by being around that environment. But it was also fun to hear people share some stories about, how they loved my grandma, my grandpa, my dad from the Beals Auto experience as well. And while my dad was still alive, he passed away in December of 2009 at 56 years old, was diagnosed and gone of cancer rather quickly. I wrote about it. If you search Amazon, Tom Beal Cancer, you'll find the book that I wrote, which pretty much shares some emails I shared with some close friends in the final 3 days of my dad's life that he didn't know nor I knew that would be the final 3 days. So go to Amazon.com and search for Tom Beal Cancer. You can see that inspiring story. But back in 2007, a couple years before losing my dad, I lost my mom at 52 years old in 2007. Similarly, she was diagnosed and gone of cancer rather quickly. And he was just reflecting, after she passed, he felt terrible that, his ex-wife, my mom, had passed at such a young age. And he's like, man, and working here at the shop, I have so many friends that, they don't come in for a while, and then I hear that they're no longer here, they passed away. And he's like, man, we're in our early 50s, but it's starting to hit me that friends are dropping left and right. And he's like, man, so I hear the news of a good friend passing, and this is what my dad told me, and I stand there for a couple minutes, reflecting on some memories, reflecting on the good times, and man, just feeling some sorrow in that moment. And then I got to go fix some cars. I got to get back to life. And he's like, one day, Tom, you're going to hear of my passing. And similarly, it's going to hurt and it's going to feel terrible. And you're going to have, those feelings, and you're going to have that sorrow. But life goes on. And you'll have to pull yourself together, and you have to recognize, that's hopefully going to inspire you to take that as a reminder that this journey is brief. Take that as a reminder that there will come a time when you too won't be here. And it sucks, and it's painful, and it hurts, but life goes on. And so he's like, when people hear me dying, I'm sure the same thing's going to happen. They're going to hear it. They're going to be like, oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, that sucks. I remember doing this with Tom, that with Tom. And you feel that sorrow, and you pick yourself up and you continue one step after the next, one day after the next. And hopefully those friends, those family members, those people who are or were close to you, when you hear that they're no longer here, hopefully that can inspire you to step up your game, to remind yourself that this journey is brief. It's time to stop messing around. It's time to get clear on where I'm wanting to go and walk boldly, confidently, consistently towards that destination. And so that's been a really amazing for me to witness the love and support for my grandma. But what most don't know, because it hasn't been really shared, but some of you who follow may know, like a week ago, I heard the news of a longtime friend and former client. He called me his mentor, and I learned a lot from him in the time of working with him and witnessing who he is as a man. So I heard, less than a week ago, or about a week and a half now ago, I heard of the passing of Lonnie Robinson. And Lonnie's in his early 50s, a great businessman, great friend, great husband, great father. And I heard he was having some issues with the COVID. And I just felt similar to how I felt when my mom and dad were diagnosed young at 52 and 56, that he'll pull through this, he'll be fine. And similarly, they none of them were fine. My mom, I thought she'd be fine, wasn't. She passed at 52 years old in 2007. My dad, I thought he'd be fine and pull through it. He wasn't. He passed at 56 in 2009. And it really hit me hard to hear that Lonnie had passed as well. And I felt sorrow for, me. I felt sorrow for his family more so, and those who knew and loved him as well. And then there was another close family member that passed 2 days before my grandma. And then I hear my grandma. So it's been a rough week and a half. But the reminder of that story that my dad shared with me is very powerful, as well as the outpouring of love, that life goes on, right? This is part of this journey we call life, that, none of us make it out of here alive. And when those close to us do pass, hopefully it inspires me, it inspires you to recognize the brevity of our time here, to gain clarity on where it is we're wanting to go personally and professionally, in our health, in our relationships, in our finances, and brings us back to the power of being present and living a life intentionally versus one by default. Living a life of design versus default. So the journey's brief. I hope that wherever this message finds you, with the ups and downs, with the highs and lows, with the amazingly awesome and contrarily amazingly challenging situations that we all go through, I hope you recognize this life is brief. I hope you are inspired by those who are no longer here to say, you know what, while I'm still here, what's mine to do? And get to doing it. All right, so thank you for the outpouring of love. Hopefully the lesson from my dad helps. The lesson from me helps. And it's go time, baby. Life goes on. Let's show ourselves. Let's show our friends, our family. Let's show the world what we're capable of. You got this. Your best awaits. Make today great. Bye for now.